Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey there, welcome to episode 24 of the Profitable Mindset Podcast. And today's episode is titled, How to Overcome Your Obstacles with Time Management. This is something I really love because since I learned how to manage my time, which I'm going to teach you about today, my whole life has changed so much. I can reach incredible goals so much faster. I can't wait to teach it to you. And the reason I know you're going to be interested in this is I see comments every single day, whether in the Profitable Mindset Facebook group, or I get messages from you, or I get emails from you where you say you're too busy, you don't have time for marketing, or you schedule your time, but then you get interrupted or something pulls you away or you don't follow through. So I know this episode is going to help you tremendously. And just remember, if you don't make time for things like marketing your business, you will not have a business. So know that since you have a business, then you really have chosen to commit to becoming a person who keeps their commitments to themselves in the area of time. Otherwise, you won't have a business long term. All right. So just know that this is a start to you becoming that person who keeps their commitments to themselves no matter what. Then you will become a person who has time for everything you choose, period. I know this because I teach it and I see the results of it already, and I know it's going to help you as well. So here's the thing too. I know that you know how to prioritize your time in some areas. For instance, many of us have kids and animals that have to be fed, and of course you're not skipping that. The cows have to be milked on schedule. You have to buy supplies before you run out. Chores have to be done at a certain time every day. And you have other appointments in life that you have to keep, of course, like doctor's appointments, but also things like we've got to pick up our baby chicks next week at 3:15 on Tuesday on the dot. And believe me, we won't miss that appointment we committed to. Or if you and I had an appointment to get together, you wouldn't just not show up. But what happens is every day I hear from some of you that you're not showing up for yourself and the things you've set aside for yourself, and you're letting yourself down every day when you do this. When it comes time to follow through on your commitments to yourself, to maybe write a marketing post or send an email about a price increase or a product you have coming up, or maybe you want to set aside time to head out and connect with customers in person like I teach, but you find you're not following through on these crucial appointments with yourself. So by the end of this episode, I hope that you'll learn to respect and value yourself and your time and keep those commitments to yourself just like you already do with other people. And as usual, I have created a self-coaching worksheet that's going to help you tremendously in this area. I think you're going to be really surprised when you download it and fill it out because it's probably like nothing you've ever seen before when it comes to time. So it's going to help you overcome your obstacles with time management. And that is at 3cowmarketing.com/time. Super easy. So grab it there or go to the show notes. It's linked up for you there. And let's get you started finding and committing to the things you want to do in your life that will help you live that amazing life you've always dreamed of. Okay, I want to pause for 1 second though here and read a review because I've had so many amazing reviews come in. You guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It is an honor, a total and complete honor for me to give you this podcast and then know that it helps you and see the notes you leave me over on the reviews of how it's helping you. It is amazing. So jump over there and leave your own review so I can give you a shout out too. I'd love to do that. And today's review is a shout out to the Homestead family. And they titled their 5-star review, "So Helpful." They say, "We've spent the last 10 years learning how to grow food. There's plenty of information out there for that, but we were definitely needing to learn and focus on how to make this into a business and not just a hobby. Charlotte has been such a great resource for us. I'm so excited for what 2020 holds for our farm and look forward to gleaning more from her." Thanks, you guys. And this is fabulous that you have beat the odds. You're already in business for 10 years, and now you want to take it from a hobby to a business. So stay right here. A lot of these episodes will help you, and there is a good chance that today's episode with time and learning how to overcome those obstacles you have with time will push you forward to that profitable farm. So anyway, back to the episode. This really excites me because time management has been one of the skills I have learned in life that has changed maybe more in my life than anything else for the better, okay? And I keep talking about it as it is a skill. It's really important that you understand that learning to manage your time is a skill that you can learn. It's not something that you are born with or not born with, okay? It's something we all have to learn. When you learn to deliberately create and manage your time, you'll finally watch yourself easily reach your goals and dreams and build your profitable business, okay? And if you don't learn how to manage your time, and since I'm talking about marketing specifically, because that's what's going to build that profitable farm, is finding that group of people to make sales to so you can sell those products and make money. When you learn to make time for that, you will have your profitable business. If you don't learn to make time for marketing, you won't have a business, okay? So it's very clear. You've got to learn to keep commitments to yourself in order to get there and reach your goals. All right, now, I also want you to know that a lot of times people will tell me that they don't have time because, and they're blaming it on other people or other circumstances or the weather or the animals. But I want you to know those are not standing in the way of you managing your time. How do I know this? Because I work with hundreds and hundreds of people in my marketing class, but also coaching one-on-one. And when I show them that other people are not holding them back or other circumstances are not holding them back, but it's their thought management, finally, they're able to learn time management, okay? So your thoughts are the key difference in whether you build your dream life or whether you just go on feeling like life is happening to you and you're not in control of building it, okay? Your thoughts. It's totally within your control with your thoughts. So I'm here to help you learn to manage your thoughts. Now, a number of years ago, I was not managing my time well. I was working away on the farm and my husband was working really hard. And we thought that was the key. You just work hard, right? Farms are hard work. I was doing exactly what I tell you not to do here. And of course, I learn everything the hard way, which is why I can teach you all this stuff. I was taking care of all the animals. I was answering to all the employees, taking care of my husband and kids, of course. I was responding and reacting to whatever it was that everyone and everything else needed. And then I had this side dream. I'd always dreamed of writing a book on marketing. For 2 years, I was telling people that I was writing a book, and I sort of was. I had a chapter that I'd look at. But as the months and years went by, I'd say I was going to take time to write it in the winter. Then winter would come and I wouldn't have time. So I'd say, well, I'm going to write it next spring. Or I'm going to write my book on Mondays. Or I'm going to spend the weekends writing my book. You know what I mean? You guys have said this to yourself too. What was happening is the book was not happening. But then what happened is almost 3 years ago, I got in an accident on my horse and broke my ankle and ended up on the couch for 3 weeks straight because I was managing pain at the beginning and I was learning how to hobble around on crutches and I needed to keep it elevated. So I needed to spend the bulk of my day on the couch. But after a couple days, I figured out that there was one thing I could do. I could sit on the couch with my leg elevated with my laptop and write my book. So I sat on the couch with my foot up and I wrote and published my Amazon bestseller, Farm Marketing from the Heart, in 3 weeks. Of course, that was with my husband bringing me cups of tea and snacks and all that. I was weighted on hand and foot, and I had a really good excuse because my ankle was broken. That's a great excuse. But can you believe it that I wrote and published a book in 3 weeks and it was an Amazon bestseller? I could not believe it at the time. I just blew myself away. Wow, did I really just do that? I don't know if you know this, but statistics show that maybe 80% or more of all people want to write a book, but only a tiny percentage ever do it. Now I know why. It's a ton of hard work. It's easier to go out and muck stalls or work in the field or milk cows or fix fence than to write and publish a book. But I learned a great lesson with that horse accident. I learned that I could accomplish anything I focused on. And if I focused on one thing at a time, I could accomplish it tons faster than if I had scattered focus and more time. I was about to get far more done when I focused and committed to one task at a time. Now, today, I know from my studies and research and training that we are not born knowing how to manage our time. Time management is a function of the decision-making part of your brain. So it's a skill you have to learn. And it is a skill that everyone can learn. Again, it's not a personality trait. It's not like you're not good with time and that's just your personality. It just means there's a skill gap. You haven't learned the skill of managing your time if you're not good with time, okay? This is how you will be successful in life, learning to manage your brain around time, all right? The farmers I work with who have success and build their profitable farms learn to manage their thoughts around time through my marketing course or through my coaching or training with them. But they learn to manage their thoughts around time, and that is what makes it possible for them to keep their commitments to themselves and build their profitable business. Now, we have to kind of fight with this all the time. We're at a hard time in our society where we have more options available to us than ever before, more options to spend our time on things, okay? With technology, we really have infinite options of things that we can see, that we can spend our time doing. And many of us get ourselves too overly committed. I did the exact same thing until I broke my ankle and it was I couldn't do any of it anymore. And I realized I was really super overly committed. It's fascinating to me now to realize that the most successful people I see today are the ones who are able to learn to focus on one thing and delete all the other options. So we think these infinite options we see on the internet and in our inboxes and our friends and family are telling us, we think that's really great. But the people with the most success choose one thing and delete all the rest. And again, I learned this the hard and painful way, but it was a huge eye-opener for me, and I'm really glad I learned this lesson. So now I've learned to shut out all other options. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the time. I have eradicated my Facebook feed, so I don't see anything on Facebook except the group I manage for my business. That is it. I don't listen to any news. And here's what I know. I'm not going to miss out on anything because if something happens in the world that I need to know about, my husband's going to text me or he's going to tell me when he gets home from work. And he does. He keeps me informed. So there are so many side benefits to you learning how to manage your time. For instance, another one is I'm now teaching my 13-year-old the skill of time management. Her life is so much more fulfilling for her as she learns to manage herself. School is easier for her. Our relationship is easier because I'm not managing her time. She's learning to manage her time. She now has learned that she can get things done ahead of time. If she learns to manage her thoughts around time, keeping her room clean is easier. She gets to do more of the things she enjoys. So just know that when you learn to manage your time, you're going to pass this on to your kids too. And I've also been able to teach this to my employees. So they're learning to manage their time because I've learned it. So it's a great skill to be able to teach to those around you too. Now, I want to share something with you that will help you understand why you don't keep your appointments with yourself or why you don't decide how you're going to spend your time. There's actually something inside of our brains that resists us from doing this. It stems from the part of our brain that is wired solely for our survival, okay? That part of our brain is trying to keep us alive and will try to convince you that you need to have nothing planned so that you can be ready to flee or to fight at any time. But what most people don't realize, and what brain researchers are now telling and showing us, is that this is an outdated function of our brain for most of us. We don't need to keep our days free in order to flee or fight. Now, in the past, we did, okay? We needed to not make decisions of how we're going to use our time ahead of time. We needed to not deliberately plan our days because we needed the sense of being able to react or flee or be spontaneous in the moment because that's how we survived. All right. And now today, there are still parts of the world where this is true for people, and they need to be able to fight or flee at any time. Deliberate planning would put them at risk. But that's not you and me, okay? We live in a different part of the world. And if we're going to have fulfilling lives, we need to learn to manage our time, which means we've got to manage our thoughts around time or manage that survival part of our brain, okay? You're learning to manage your own brain here when you do this. Okay, so the other thing that I mentioned before too is many of you are tempted to think that being a planner and being good at time management is a personality trait. Or you'll tell me that you just aren't a planner. It's not in your personality to be a planner. And it is your personality to be spontaneous. But as soon as you become aware that this is from an outdated function of your brain, then we can all realize it's not serving us in today's world, okay? That is not a personality trait. It's a skill. So we realize that we're not reaching our dreams in life that are 100% attainable by time management because we've been giving into this very subtle urging from this part of our brain that's telling us to avoid planning, okay? Or that same very subtle message from our brain that says, oh, don't do it right now. You're too tired. You need a break. You don't need to sit down and do that thing. And that part of our brain, that outdated function of the survival part of our brain is killing our dreams today. Okay? It's killing our dreams. So the reality I see after working with many clients over the years is the more you plan, the freer you will be. Here's why. The more you plan and execute the plan when the time comes, the more you will complete the results you want in life, the more goals you'll reach in life, and you will create the life that you have dreamed of. Then what happens is the more you plan and follow through on your commitment to that plan and create results and reach goals, the more you'll be able to enjoy your free time without guilt, because you'll be able to produce so much more. You'll feel so much more in control of your life. All right. So many people think that spontaneity is freedom, like having no plans is freedom. But really what most people are saying when they say that is that they don't have control of their own life. For instance, when I wanted to write that book, for 2 years, I was always kind of worried and anxious somewhere in the back of my mind that I wasn't finding time to work on my book. This occupied my mind and it caused me a certain level of stress for years. It took away from my time to focus on other things because it was just always in the back of my mind that I wasn't doing that thing. And then boom, one painful accident, and I focused on it for 3 weeks of hard work. And all of a sudden I experienced freedom and relief because I completed and published the book that had been on my mind for 2 years. So I could have set aside 3 weeks 2 years before, but looking back, that seems so easy. And now I've learned that lesson and I apply that lesson to my daily life. All right. Now, again, some of you don't want to plan because you know from your own experience that you're a person who doesn't follow through on your plans. You commit to sitting down and doing something in your office and you don't do it. So then you decide you don't want the disappointment you feel of not doing something you committed to yourself to do. So you just get in the habit of not planning it ahead of time, just thinking that, well, if it happens, then it happens. But guess what? It never happens, and you don't live that amazing life. You live a life like I was living before I broke my ankle, stressed out, responding to everyone else's demands, not fulfilling my own dreams, not creating the things I wanted to create in life. And really, I actually said this to my husband. I felt like I was on an assembly line. I felt like I was an assembly line worker, waking up in the morning, going to work, just doing the things that were shoved in front of me through the day. And life was happening to me. I remember telling him that. And it took that accident to open my eyes about this, that I could learn this skill. Not intentionally planning your days and not following through on your plans will never bring you an amazing and fulfilling life or business. Now, let me get back to the complaints I get every day from many of you. And I hear this a lot with those of you trying to sell your products direct to consumer and you're trying to plan to do your marketing. You know how important the marketing is, of course. You've learned that. You know exactly what you need to do if you're in my marketing course because I give you the exact steps of what you need to do. I even tell you how you can divide up your days to get it done. But then when the time comes along during the week for you to actually do the thing you know to do, you're not doing it. You tell me you're doing other things or you're responding or reacting to other people, things get in the way. You tell me you're not following through with your plans. And again, this reflects not so much an issue with your time or an issue with marketing, but this is now an issue with you honoring commitments to yourself. So time and commitment go hand in hand here. You can set aside the time, but if you don't keep the commitment, you're not going to follow through. Now, just let me point out here for a second that if you had committed to an appointment to go pick up a new cow, or, sometimes we get a call and the head of the Department of Ag for Oregon is going to stop by the farm at 11 a.m., well, I keep that commitment. I drop everything and I go do that, right? But then you'll tell me that you make a commitment to write a blog post that when you send it out the way I teach, it's going to bring you in thousands of dollars, but you don't sit down and do it when the time comes. So you've taught yourself to respect and honor time that you've scheduled when other people are involved, but you're totally disrespecting yourself. You're treating other people way better than you treat yourself. And again, I used to do this. I learned this the hard way. I know exactly what that's like. When I became aware of how disrespecting myself meant I wouldn't fulfill my dreams, and, oh, by the way, I was teaching my kids to disrespect themselves too, wow, I knew I had to change, and I was so happy to recognize this. Today, I can confidently say that when you learn to run your life as if you are the most important person to respect and honor and keep your commitments to, that shows up in every other area of your life, including your confidence. So oddly enough, the skill of honoring ourselves does not come naturally, all right? It's another thing that doesn't come naturally. We have to learn time management and we have to learn self-respect. I always wonder, why can't we just be born knowing how to respect ourselves? Why can't we be born with loyalty to ourselves and loyalty to our own word? Why is this something we have to continually practice and focus on? But again, with my further research and training, I think it's set up that way because of the strength we build learning this self-respect. The part of our brain that is meant for our survival is, of course, very well intended, but it keeps us safe and small. It tells us not to take risks so that then we don't reach the dreams, because your dreams only come when you learn to take risks. So animals, just know that animals can't plan and make goals and reach them. Okay, they don't have the part of the brain that we do. Our privilege of being human is that we have a decision-making part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that can override that survival part of our brain. The problem is not all humans, not all of us decide or learn to take advantage of the skill. But guess what? You're learning it here. You're tuning in here. You're going to learn that it is 100% within your control to manage that part of your brain that's telling you not to do the thing in the moment. Okay? So we're going to reach our dreams here, all the listeners on this podcast. So what you're going to decide is you're going to decide to embrace that privilege that we get to enjoy of making plans ahead of time and keep that commitment that you planned on. Okay? Then what's going to happen? You're going to change your life very quickly. And you always have to remember the survival part of your brain doesn't want you to deliberately plan. And this is kind of a very subtle urging. I know you've felt it. It comes time to do that thing you said you were going to do, and you just don't feel like it, right? Well, that is this subtle brain message saying, oh, don't take a risk. Don't work too hard. Preserve your energy. And because you have a human brain, you will learn to override it. Here's the other thing. When you start being a person who keeps your commitments to yourself, you will find that you reach goals at an astounding rate, and other people start to take notice. And not only that, you will find that you're kind of in a very small circle of people, because most people float through life. They float through life, letting life happen to them. They aren't deciding every day how they're going to live your life. But guess what? You guys here, you're my people. You're listening. We are all going to learn how to manage our thoughts, decide ahead of time to commit to something. We are going to learn to keep those commitments to ourselves, and we are going to create results faster than you have ever done in your life. Again, I've seen this, of course, with myself, but all my clients I work with too. Okay, now some of you will still think that planning takes time away, or that being deliberate about your whole day means that you have no spontaneity or no room for emergencies. But I can assure you from my own experience again, and the people I work with, when you plan, you actually free up time. Okay, you create time when you plan ahead of time. Here's what I mean. When you plan something like, I'm going to work on this thing for an hour and have my blog post written at the end of that time. And then the time comes, you honor your plan, you honor your commitment. You have used that time so efficiently. You create that blog post in 1 hour, just like you committed to. What happens is you have an extra hour of time to relax or do anything you want. Because when you don't plan, something like writing a blog post will take 3 or 4 hours, or it will take 3 or 4 weeks of you telling yourself to do it and you're not doing it because you didn't commit to doing it. Okay, so that is how you make time. You create time. So I used to do this in my life, of course, all the time. I would say I was going to do my marketing on maybe Wednesdays from 10 to 2. And I wouldn't actually write down the result I wanted, like I will have 2 blog posts written at the end of that time, or I will have 3 marketing emails written during my Wednesday 10 to 2 time. I would just say something like, I'm working on my marketing. So Wednesday, 10 o'clock comes and I'd start Googling things and I'm collecting info, because remember, we have infinite options available to us. And then I'd see an email that I needed to respond to that I forgot to, so I'd work on that for a few minutes. Eventually, I might find my way back to working on researching the blog post. Pretty soon, the time is done. It's 2 o'clock. It's time to go out and start chores. My marketing time was over, and I did not have any concrete results to show that was getting me closer to my goal. Sure, I had lots of research. I had more ideas than when I first sat down. But that research just gave me more things to scatter my focus, and now I felt overwhelmed. Oh, but in that time, maybe I did put up an Instagram post, and that actually felt deceivingly productive, because here's what I know. Here's why that's deceiving. If I had finished that marketing email, I would have gotten $10,000 in orders. I know that because that's what I teach people how to do. But instead, I spent the time putting up the Instagram post and not making any money. But I deceived myself into thinking I did some marketing, okay? So I was not following through on my commitment to create that piece of marketing that I knew was going to help me reach my goal. Then I would go about the rest of my day and I'd feel stressed that I never did really finish anything concrete. So now what I do today, and I can teach you exactly how to do this too, is I plan my schedule for the week on Sundays. I schedule Wednesday at 10 a.m. for 1 hour. And at the end of that 1 hour, I decide on the Sunday before that I will have a podcast episode recorded and sent off to my producer. You guys, that is such a huge sense of accomplishment. So today, since I do it this way today, previously, it probably would have taken me 4 hours to maybe research and Google and make some notes, and I would not have the podcast episode recorded at the end of that 4 hours, and I'd have to come back to it again and again. But because I plan my time by the results that I commit to getting at the end of the time, it's turned into, say, 1 hour of focus or maybe 2 hours of focus, and it's done, which means I can get on with my day totally stress-free, guilt-free, confident that my marketing is done, and I feel like I have so much more space in my life. So by deliberately planning and then becoming a person who keeps my commitments to myself, it's like I've created hours of time in my day. And now my days are peaceful and calm and fulfilling, even though I'm just as busy and have all the things going on that all the farmers I work with have going on too. Now, when you first start practicing this skill, though, you're going to have some roadblocks come up. All right. So say you sit down to plan your week on Sunday, like I do, or early Monday morning, and you're going to write all your planned hours for your personal time on your calendar first, and then you write down your business time, what you need to do, and you can put this on a written calendar or online. But what happens is when the time comes for that appointment with yourself to do your marketing, for instance, you're going to feel unmotivated. Okay, I can already predict this. And of course, you're going to feel unmotivated. Remember, that is the survival part of your brain keeping you safe. And in that moment, what you're going to practice doing is you just acknowledge that. Of course, I mean, this is like you talking to yourself. You're going to say, of course, you don't want to sit down at the time you set aside and do your marketing, but you're going to do it anyway. And it's funny because I use these exact words with my daughter all the time, and I'm teaching her this. We'll fill out her calendar together, and maybe Saturday she's supposed to work on a report that's due. So 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and she'll say, I don't want to do this right now. Can I do it later? It's so sunny out. I want to go ride my horse. Or she'll say, my friend texted and wants to hang out. Can I do this tomorrow? I will tell her, of course you don't feel like doing it right now. But guess what? You get to do it anyway. Those exact words, I tell her that all the time, and I tell myself that too. I just say, of course you don't want to do your marketing right now. Of course you don't want to record a podcast right now. You get to do it anyway. So teach yourself that exercise. It'll work with this. And it's just like when our kids were little, those of us with kids, if we didn't change the dirty diapers unless we felt motivated to change the dirty diapers, our kids would be in dirty diapers most of the time. But even though we didn't feel motivated to change a dirty diaper all the time, we always did it. I know this is a super simple analogy, but your brain works the same way. You won't want to sit down and do the thing you've scheduled when the time comes, but you do it anyway. And there's nothing more important at that moment than keeping your commitment to yourself. If you don't, if you let yourself be pulled aside by, oh, you've got this other thing that's more urgent or more important, then you're teaching yourself that you're okay to disrespect and not honor. And believe it or not, this will show up in your relationships with other people. When I see someone criticizing others or complaining about things, I know they lack respect for themselves, and I feel so sad for them that they've not discovered this skill. When you learn to honor your commitments to yourself and complete the things that you start, you will build up so much respect for yourself. And I was forced by a broken ankle to honor the commitment I'd made to myself to write and publish a book. And it was the best lesson I could learn the hard way. So don't let a broken bone be the reason you finally learn this lesson of managing your thoughts around keeping your commitments to yourself. Decide now you're going to learn to follow through. So many of us look at our lives and think that what we can accomplish depends on what's available to us in the world, or it depends on the people we're with or the circumstances around us. But I want to offer that what you can accomplish in your life is based on what you follow through on. Just you alone. You don't even have to know exactly how. You just have to start taking action, make a plan, and follow through on your action. So again, I just want to encourage you that when you learn this skill, you will see yourself start to accomplish huge goals every week for yourself, not the goals other people come and tell you to do. But I shock myself at how I decide to commit to a dream today, and then I make it a reality way faster than I imagined. My days are also scheduled with free time so I can recharge. I'm not burnt out anymore. I don't feel like I'm just an assembly line worker, and I have lots of time to focus on my goals. So that's what I have for you today. I want you to learn to overcome your obstacles with time, and you will just reach so many huge goals, and you will create an amazing, fulfilling life and a profitable business when you learn to manage your thoughts around time. You guys, it's such powerful work. So again, get that free self-coaching worksheet. It is at 3cowmarketing.com/time. I can't wait to hear how this helps you, how you will learn to decide ahead of time what your schedule is going to be, what you're going to commit to. And I would love to hear back from you when you start having success honoring and respecting your commitments to yourself. You guys, it is so exciting to learn this skill. Okay, thanks for being here, and I can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablемindset.com. See you next time.